Good morning, George. Are we ready for another day of adventure?
Is that to me or George?
Either.
Always ready for adventure.
Hi guys, I hope you're good. This is where I left you last time after the dream team crossed the Mersey. We're up again bright and early for our next adventure. We leave Ellesmere Port and head on to the Manchester Ship Canal. The Ship Canal is 36 miles long, and as we head into the rising sun, our plan is to navigate its entire length today.
Again, up the Manchester Ship Canal, about 36 miles I think to probably Salford Quays.
Soon after departure, we enter a long no-filming zone due to a large oil refinery. Once we're allowed to, the cameras are back out to capture the rest of the trip. These yellow markers help us plot our progress. The canal was opened in 1894 by Queen Victoria. It sounds odd that a port would be built in Manchester, 40 miles inland, but at the time the country was in a Great Depression and it was thought that building a canal would bring trade to the area. Before the canal was built, goods would come in from the Irish Sea via Liverpool, where a charge was levied at the docks. They were then transported to Manchester by rail, again adding more money to the price. Give me a paw. Good boy. This boat passes us just by the junction with the River Weaver. Traffic on the canal is almost exclusively industrial. Leisure boats are only permitted under strict rules, which Joe and Michael, whose boat we're on, will probably explain in their video. And on the other side of those sluices is the River Mersey. This wasn't the original plan for the canal's route, but there was concern that cutting a channel into the Mersey would cause it to silt up and prevent navigation, so an engineer proposed the canal would run parallel to the Mersey as far as Runcorn and then turn inland. The Mersey Dock Board vigorously opposed the creation of the Manchester Ship Canal, and twice Parliament sided with them and voted against plans for the canal. The church you see is Christ Church in Western Point. It's on an island between the Ship Canal and the Weaver. It was built for the local workers and opened in 1841. At that time, bargees were not allowed to work on Sundays. It's thought to be the only UK church on an uninhabited island, but it's long closed now. We continue past the saltworks and various recycling plants, and then pass under the Ethelfelder Viaduct and Jubilee Bridge. It took 6 years for the canal to be built at a cost of £15 million, the equivalent of almost $2 billion today. Little of that money came from big business. Instead, a lot of ordinary people bought shares to contribute towards the construction costs. Of course, the money ran out halfway through construction, and the Manchester Corporation, which is the equivalent of a council today, lent the rest of the money. They recouped that by a 26% tax increase. We're all still a bit sleepy, so we sit back and go with the flow. It's nice when we get to a bridge or another landmark because there are miles without much to see. This is the canal equivalent of a motorway with miles and miles between junctions. Mooring is prohibited along the entire length of the canal, so we have to complete this in one hit. There were a lot of delays with the construction of the Manchester Ship Canal, and one of the problems that they encountered, that a lot of the railway bridges that crossed over the route for the canal were too low, so they needed to be demolished and rebuilt. But because all of the railways were owned by private companies, they demanded really high compensation for the bridges having to be demolished and rebuilt. And then the people that were building the ship canal refused to pay the price that they asked for. So they ended up having to go to arbitration, and the price that was agreed on in the end was a lot lower than what the railway companies had originally demanded. We've seen quite a few birds along the way, and I wonder what they make of seeing a narrowboat on their doorstep. We're approaching another swing bridge. Can you see the traffic light for the tall boats? I think we'll go under with no problems though. We've spotted a cormorant hunting for its lunch. If you look really closely, you'll see a fish leap out of the water. Did you see it? Here. He's certainly seen it. After that excitement, we carry on towards some more bridges, more birds. On the left are the floodlights for Warrington Town Soccer Stadium. English people hate it when you call it soccer, by the way. We're approaching our first set of locks. This is a very welcome sight. In total, there are 5 sets of locks on the Manchester Ship Canal, rising a total of 60 feet. Poor George thinks it's time to get off the boat. A break now would be wonderful. We seem to be in the lock for ages. The lock keeper keeps going backwards and forwards to the control panel, and even makes a phone call at one point, which doesn't fill me with confidence. I wonder how often these locks are used. The canal can accommodate boats up to 600 feet long, 20 metres wide, which is just not big enough for modern ships. At its busiest time in 1958, Manchester Docks was the 3rd busiest in the whole of the UK. To George's dismay, the gates do eventually open and we can continue on our way. David lends a hand on the tiller for a while. 36 miles might not sound like a lot, but remember, we're doing it at walking pace. Okay, the speed limit on the ship canal is a bit higher than on a regular canal, so it's more a jogging pace, but you get the idea, it's still really, really slow. To top things off, it starts to rain heavily, so I do what any loving wife would do and relieve David of the tiller. I'm surprised by the force of the water. It feels as strong as being on a tidal river. I'm having to use a lot of muscle power to steer us under the disused railway viaduct. We're into the next locks now at Earlham. I steer us through these and the next set of locks before handing back over to Michael. I do not envy him one bit today.
Oh, hey George. Hey George.
These bridges are aptly named Barton high level and low level bridges. I love cruising, I really do, but this is the longest I've ever gone without a break, and I'm starting to feel the toll, much like Mr. George. But this is what makes trips like this worth it. This is the Barton Swing Aqueduct, where the Bridgewater Canal passes over the ship canal. When a tall boat approaches, the whole aqueduct, including the water, swings around like a swing bridge to make room for the boat to pass underneath. It's the only swing aqueduct in the world, and it opened in 1894 at the same time as the ship canal. You can see its mechanism there. This is a lift bridge, giving you an idea of the maximum height of vessels which can use the ship canal. If you ever consider doing this trip, make sure you have a good group of people with you who can help with the driving, tea making, or anything else you might need. This is the first day where I've reached my boating limit and I really want to stop, so it feels great to approach the final set of locks in Manchester. Joe and Michael have a mooring booked in Salford Quays, the former dock, which was once the UK's third busiest port. Salford isn't quite at the end of the navigation, and I wonder if we'll push on or just head straight for the moorings. We've come so far that it would be a shame not to finish, but I also really want to stretch my legs and have a big feed. David's taken George inside, but I'm determined to see as much as possible. This is Media City, where a lot of our TV is made. The land is owned by the same company as the ship canal. This is Millennium Bridge, connecting Salford with Manchester. Here's a shot of my heroes. I've said it before, but the admiration I have for their mission to visit all our inland waterways is immeasurable. To do it is hard enough, but then for Joe to make every journey into a video, it's just amazing. There's another football stadium, Old Trafford. I think a fairly famous football team play there. We are about to pass an absolutely iconic location, which featured in my last video from the Manchester Ship Canal. It's Nome Island! Which means we didn't stop straight away at the mooring. But neither are we going to the end. Instead, we're going about a mile past Salford Quays to where the ship canal joins the Bridgewater Canal at Pomona Lock. There are so many more things I want to tell you about the canal, but we're almost out of time, so I urge you to do some more reading on it. We're pulling into Salford Quays now, where Joe and Michael will spend the night before continuing their adventure. I've linked theirs and David's videos below. This is where I'm going to leave them. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you all again really soon. Bye for now.